the second part of ITS 16 has arrived. That's the first tournament season for N5. So what's new? And is it any good? Let's take a look. Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today, as I say, we're going to have a look at the new PDF which dropped a few days ago from Corvus Belli, which covers the second half of ITS 16. The first half of ITS 16 was for Infinity N4, then N5 dropped, so now we have this bit which is all new and shiny with all the new N5 goodness in it. Before we get into that, thank you as ever to our members and our Patreons for supporting us, and to the mighty Joe Rogers for his unhealthily long support of the channel. It is greatly appreciated. If you do like what we do and you want to see more, please do consider signing up and becoming a subscriber, or even better, a member on YouTube or a member on Patreon. We've got lots planned this year, and your support will make all of that happen a lot quicker and easier. So if you can, please help out. Right, let's get into this. This PDF has got quite a few changes and quite a few not changes. So let's start with the basic stuff. Everything's been N5'd. This isn't really a shock. So anything that had wounds previously, the W stat, now has the Vita stat. So there's that. All the F-13 turrets have gone, which now we can spam them from troopers. Isn't really a surprise. So yeah, that makes sense. With the new special rules, we've seen journalists have now become specialists, which means that war calls are potentially useful. So that's anything with the journalist skill now becomes a specialist. So with your 3-point war calls, that's potentially making them a little bit more useful, but then you also have the risk of missions where you get points for killing specialists. It's a really squishy, cheap specialist. So yeah, be careful with that one. But it's nice to see. Nice to see those guys getting some use beyond Flash Pulse turret. Border Skirmish is still in there, so that's there from previous years. That's all about letting your combat jumpers and parachutists arrive, or one of them arrive in an exclusion zone. You can now do that with combat jumpers without having to do the PH roll. So that's good. So you used to have to do a PH roll as well, which you normally do, but that's now been scrapped, so they can just and land on the borders, which is cool. Sorry, land in the exclusion zone. Crucially, we gained 3 new missions. ITS Part 1 was a little skinny on the mission side of things, with lots being culled. The theme of N5. We've seen the return of Bpong, Evacuation, and Last Launch. Yeah, they're interesting missions. They have been rebalanced as well, which is good, because there were some issues with if you went first in certain circumstances or second in other circumstances, you had a distinct advantage. That's kind of been smushed out a little bit, I guess, from feedback from the community for Corvus Belli. So we've seen those tidied up a little bit. The way that they score has changed slightly. So this is good. I think that will help and make them more useful. We've also seen with Evacuation, because that's the one with all of the HVTs and civilians, there's been some changes to the way that's set up, and one of the civilians is gone now. So I think it's, yeah, these are good choices. They're obviously coming from feedback, obviously coming from the community, so that can only be a good thing, because apparently this is what we think, this is what we wanted. I do think making Last Launch and Evacuation a little bit more balanced, if you go first or second, is a good thing, because it's quality of life. You know, you don't want to be in a situation where you start a tournament game and you go second and think, my opponent's competent, it's a matter of how badly this goes. So I think that's a good thing. I think some of the changes to Last Launch, I'd recommend you have a read of it. I think some of the changes to Last Launch are nice. I think it'll make it less of a faffing mission, because it is a bit of a faff to go here and poke the button, and you have to go to the middle and launch yourself up into the air. But you don't do too many, because you need to defend from the other guy doing that. You need to kill some of his stuff, but also, yeah, it's a little bit less that, which I think is only going to be a good thing. I might actually put it into a tournament now, because I've put it into an escalation league and all of my players went, no. And then they all played it and went, no. You know who you are. So I think it's now getting, for a one-day tournament, it's possibly viable to stick last launch in there without making everyone have a small breakdown, which is nice. But that gets us onto the big thing. The big thing. That's kind of the core, actually, of the changes, apart from this one thing. And as ever at the moment, that one thing is a big thing. So let's talk about tactical support. This is a new option that has just sprung into existence, all light and fluffy, with N5. This is essentially a bolt-on to 7 missions. You get a number of tactical support buffs, depending on the mission, 1 or 2. And the way this works is, I'm going to read this because I've made notes, because otherwise I'm going to forget. You get your tactical objectives from your operations deck. So your normal operations deck with the classifieds in it, you'll find in there your tactical objectives. You take out the cards without any symbols on them. Now I should have, probably this way, the picture of all the different options, so you can see the symbols there. The ones without those symbols on, tiff out of your deck. Give them a shuffle. Draw the number of tactical support cards listed on the mission. So you're looking at 1 or 2 here, basically. You then get the buffs that correspond to those symbols. This is simple. This is straightforward. Yes. And then again, no. So, first of all, these can't go on tags, vehicles, irregular troops, Wrens, or minis not on the board. So markers, hidden, airborne, or hollow echo, stuff like that. They can't have these things, okay? There are 12 possible results on this table. And they range from, that's pretty dang useful, all the way to, oh, which is not ideal. So let's take a look at them. First things first, you can get a single-use re-roll on a scenario roll. So a scenario roll is one of those rolls like opening the box that contains the supplies in supplies. Sorry, the tech coffin. Opening the tech coffin that contains the supplies in supplies. It's that. It is booping the buttons so that you can get a ticket to go off in last launch, because everyone's going to play last launch now. So these things are relevant. You get a re-roll for one of those. We've all been there. It's the important roll. You whiff it. Now you can re-roll it once. Amazing. You can also, with a different result, get the ability to make a scenario roll an auto success. Even better. We went good, now we better. Fantastic. Or you can make one specialist have re-roll for scenario rolls for the whole game. That's quite potent. Especially on something like last launch where you need to get lots of tickets potentially. You can have somebody just sit there, yeah, maybe. Something like that. It's useful. Or if you want to go and do whip rolls against, I don't know, Monopolies and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think you need to roll against Monopolies anymore. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's useful if you've got one guy that can just re-roll for the whole game. For the whole game, he can just re-roll these scenario rolls. You can also get a result which gives one trooper the specialist operative skill. So there is our one extra specialist. This is potent. Now, crucially, this draw happens before the initiative roll, so you can also get +1 whip on the initiative roll, which is not quite as good as getting a re-roll on the scenario rolls for the entire game. I think we can all agree. You can also get a result which gives a trooper a medikit, or a gizmo kit, or sensor. Situational, but potentially very useful, especially if you have classifieds which require the gizmo kit or require the medikit. Or you want to turn a disco ball back on again. You have those options. And sensor, situationally, I mean, if you're up against, we had a tournament recently where somebody had 20 camo markers. Getting a free sensor in that situation, from their perspective, if the enemy had that, is suddenly not very funny. So there's that. If that all is not good enough, we then have the option to get a free adhesive launcher or a blitzen, which are options. You can get those, which is the thing. Or you can get the option to pick any one of the other ones that are there. So you can just get a wild card and you're like, I'm going to take that one. Blitzers for everybody. I don't know. Which is fab. Or you can get an option to cancel one of your opponent's draws, basically. So they're tactical support draws. You can just cancel that so it doesn't happen. Yeah, so those are your options. Those are all the things you can get. My thoughts on this. With the introductions of Speedball already, we've got Speedballs coming in left, right and centre, dropping random bits and buffs on the game table. This is an even more random, bigger list of stuff, which just feels like stuff. This is just stuff. It's another step at the start of the game, so it's going to slow things down, which gives you more stuff for you and your opponent to do before you even start the game. Before anyone's spending orders, we're not even making an LT roll at this point. We are just doing stuff to potentially get a Blitzen, or maybe a game-changing dude who can re-roll all of his scenario rolls. There is a gulf between those two things. And if you're playing something like Annihilation, getting the re-roll is useless. There are going to be many scenarios where you're going to get to do this draw. You're going to have to do this draw at the start of the turn, the start of the game. And potentially, it's going to have no impact on the game other than we had to spend the time at the start of the game doing it. I don't know. I can't remember all the missions. Maybe they're not on Annihilation, but you get my point. Potentially, this is just more time spent not playing the game, doing administration. And we already have enough administration to do at the start of an Infinity game. Let's be honest, because we have Speedballs to do there now. We have to do classifieds, potentially a lot of classifieds, depending on how things are going. And now we need to do these as well. These need to happen too. This can be amazing. If you have that clutch moment where you have to get that last objective, we have all been there. The last roll of the last turn, of the last order of the game, and you whiff it. And now you can whiff it twice, or potentially, you could re-roll it and victory will be yours. It could be literally game-changing. It could be pointless. I'm not sure about it, to be honest. My overriding feel with some of the stuff that's in N5 at the moment is that it is stuff. It is stuff that's been levered in. And this feels like there is the germ of an idea in there that could work, that could be really, really cool. But that table, for me, isn't it. It's just, it swings so far from, oh my god, that's amazing, to, a Blitzen. That, I'm fully aware of the fact that the first time I play this, both me and my opponent are going to get, you can cancel your opponent's draw. I don't know. This feels a little bit fluffy. I kind of want to see how it runs. I kind of want to see how it goes in game, but my biggest fear is it's just more admin for no real clear benefit. Until that one clutch game where it changes the game completely, at which point, how's that going to feel? Because this is on a dice draw. There's no, a card draw. There's no skill. You have no say. You have no decision making in this. You just flip a card and hopefully it's fine. And yes, we're playing a dice game. You roll a die and hopefully it's fine. This doesn't feel the same. There is no agency. There's no decision. You can't choose to try and make this whip roll with a Dava, so you're doing it on whip 15. You can't stack the odds in your favour. You just got to shuffle it and hope that it went well. Or it didn't. Which is a bit, from my perspective. Overall, impressions of ITS 16 Part 2 are good. I'll be honest, they're good. We have more missions. Those missions have been organised and restructured and made a little bit better. Fab. Thanks, guys. That works. Brilliant. This will see us all the way up to the end of the year and the end of the season with the Interplanetario, which is going to be great. This is fab. Good stuff. And do not misunderstand me. The missions are the important bit. That's where your tournaments live or die. If you have rubbish, samey, repetitive missions, then your tournament's going to be samey and repetitive. The fact that we've just gained 3 that have been tweaked, they've been changed around a little bit, freshened up a little bit, this is good. Could we have done with 10 new missions and a complete rework? Of course we could. Don't even get in the comments and say it. Of course we could. There's not a year that goes by when we don't want another 15 new missions and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know. I hear you. They've just done a new version. It's fine. The new versions, give them a chance. The fact we have new missions in the second part is good. I am really grateful for that, and I think that is fantastic. The small rules changes, the bringing it in line with M5 is great. It needed to happen. I'm glad that it has. Tactical support, I'm not whelmed. I am whelmed by it. I'm not massively negative about it because I currently don't really see the point. It doesn't feel like it adds anything. There have been some ideas that have been added to Infinity over the years that haven't worked, but they have had value. Reinforcements. Those didn't work for most people, myself included. But you looked at it and you went, okay, you are trying something. There is a big idea here and it's coming into the system, and it didn't work, but there was this big idea. And that was fab. This doesn't feel like that. This is a random table drawn by cards that gives you stuff that varies from yay to... yeah. I don't know. I don't feel it. I also don't want to be the guy that draws the card and gets the Blitzen and looks across the table and sees re-rolls for everybody. That's an extra bit of disparity. I don't like that on a card draw. It doesn't work. But yeah, we need to see it. We have tournaments and escalation leagues coming up soon over here, so we're going to see how these play in those particular environments and see what they do. Maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. Certainly won't be the last. We shall see. But so far, guys, have you tried any of ITS 16 Part 2? It's been about a week. You've had time. What are you doing? Have you tried the tactical support options? And if you did it work? Was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? Let us know in the comments, as ever. And thank you for watching, and we will see you all again soon. Goodbye.